NFL gave me a great foundation. It taught me a lot of great things about discipline, focus, hard work.
Hi, welcome to the Winners Find a Way show and podcast with your host, Trent M. Clark, three-time World Series coach, CEO of Leadershipity, serial entrepreneur, having started 12 companies, coach to the 1%, and an international speaker. This show is going to be your go-to podcast for facing adversity, being inspired, and overcoming obstacles, all from the best in the world, business, sports, and leadership. Need to hydrate but tired of plain old water? You need Rebellious Infusions. No sugar, no calories, loaded with antioxidants to boost your immune system. And L-theanine for brain health. 10 organic flavors and convenient liquid packets. Just add 16 ounces and you are on your way. Rethink your drink at drinkrebellious.com. For 10% off of your next purchase, use the code 99999.
My father was a great example of the foundation, but I had to build it as I go because when I left the NFL, a lot of things I was doing, I had to retrain myself and reprogram myself. And the NFL gave me a great foundation. It taught me a lot of great things about discipline, focus, hard work. But I actually was talking to one of my coaches yesterday and we were discussing, and I just kind of realized in the moment yesterday that football also taught me some bad habits I had to break, like aggressiveness, need to impose my will, desire to fight, and all that. So the foundation of being somebody that was persevering, it kind of came through over time. And again, like I said, it really turned on and magnified for me at that point as a custodian when I had to get my life together after that spoiled milk moment to either raise up and go forward or continue just to feel sorry for myself, feel that I was a victim, feel that everybody was trying to take advantage of me, and just continue to not be where I wanted to be because I was just going to play victim mode for the entire time.
It's one of the things that I'm so good at recognizing in others. The moment I hear the victim mentality, I'm like, I want to take a shower. It just sounds filthy and I want to wash it off. Yet I'm also the guy who can lean into it. And somehow that filter doesn't like I don't hear it in me. Well, I hear it in everybody else. Like, oh man, listen to that victim mentality, Marcus. We would never do that. But then here I am like going, well, no one's giving me a chance because I'm not tall enough. And I'm like, it's not fair. And other people, I'm stealing almost as many bases as everybody else. Like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, show me and make me a believer. You know, people, like, if you're out there and you're challenged today, like, I'm telling you, we are only good as you are today. You've got to show them every day. There's a consistency in this workload, and you've got to bring your best. And there's a lot of things that go into that. Marques, I want to hear from you. Like, no one would now. I mean, you take this hard turn. You're a successful NFL athlete. You roll that into a construction business. You're cooking with fire, man, and things are just rolling along. You lose your focus, right? And everything comes down. You're willing to go back to work, which is take the custodial service job. But knowing what now, what would you have done differently? What would you have done differently today?
Honestly, well, two things. One thing, I would not do anything differently because if I'd done anything differently, I wouldn't be here today. But if I could just wave a wand and then make everything in life perfect and have no ripples, all that, I would have made myself an active listener, as somebody that would have listened to his trusted team. If you're listening to this podcast and you're an entrepreneur or you work for an organization in which you pay people a salary or a 1099 contracting consultant fee, whatever the case may be, if you're paying people and you're not taking their advice, you're wasting payroll dollars. That's all you're doing. You're wasting payroll dollars. When you hire someone, it should be full trust and full confidence that they can do the job until they prove they can't. And that was my mistake. My team had proven they could do the job over and over again, but my ego got in the way and it knocked me off course. And as a result of that, I ended up losing my best people. I ended up eventually losing my company and lost everything. So what I would tell people is that if I could go back, I would have made myself an active listener And I would have learned that the biggest killer of any business or business owner is their ego. And I would have removed that from my DNA at that time. Or you really can't remove it. I would have kept it under control where it never surfaced to cause ultimate destruction and damage in my business.
I love that. I mean, and I feel like I hear this too many times and I see it too often, Marques, in our coaching business. People who you've gone all these lengths to get the right team members and all this vast experience. Like I want right down in your neighborhood, I want this Duke graduate. Like, oh, and then, here's a Duke graduate that's got 20 years of experience in their respective field. And then you don't choose to listen to them, right? Like, it's like crazy. Like, how does that make sense? And I'm reminded of my children, right? As 5 kids, I've always had at least one who's like, hey, Dad, how about this? That's not okay. And that's not how we would do things as Clark's. Like, well, hey, Uncle Marques, how about this? No, that's not okay. Well, hey, Mom, how about this? Like, hey, listen, everybody's telling you no until they find that one person who goes, hey, well, my counselor at school told me it's okay. Listen, 19 people told you no, and you didn't choose to listen to doing the right thing. And I see owners replicating this 12-year-old environment. And I'm like, what are we thinking here, man? You want the answer that you want that fits my narrative or why I should buy the $250,000 car or whatever we're justifying in our mind, right? Talk to me about what you've seen there.
So I've seen people try to keep up with the Joneses. I've seen people try to live a lifestyle for others. I've seen people try to do what they think others in society want them to do. And again, I'm not going to say everybody is like this because it's not true, but they say, I think it's between 85 to 90% of society lives paycheck to paycheck. So when you have that type of mentality and you're living in that type of world, you need to really realize that keeping up with the Joneses is not where you need to be. Keep up with yourself, right? And do what you can do. And I tell people this all the time. Stay within your budget. Whatever your budget is, that's what you need to stay within. Otherwise, you're going to have all sorts of problems.
Yeah, I think this is back this immediate gratification. And I love to keep it simple, right? I mean, I think people really attract to like financial peace in that program because, hey, man, it's really simple, right? And I saw a statistic that currently Americans spend 5% more than they make. So like, hey, man, how's that going to play out? Like, we're all just going to live on credit? Like, eventually that's going to run out, right?
And that's how people live. Like, literally, I remember I used to think like that, and I'm smarter than this, but because I was in such a bad financial place, like when we got our first credit card, because my wife had filed a bankruptcy chapter 11, which is it's like one of the, it's the least severe.
Restructure. Yep. Restructure.
Yeah, she had some issues from her first marriage when she got divorced, and she did that, and I had to file chapter 7, the complete worst. And I remember when we got our first credit card, I'm like, oh my God, yes, we have an asset. We have $2,200 in a credit card that we can utilize. Yay, we're good. We would charge on, like, oh, let's go to dinner and let's spend $400 here, da da da. And then we got the bill. I'm like, wait a second, like, wow, Marshall, better than this. Like, you pay $400 for something that you're paying $450 to the credit card company. So you're spending an extra $50 just to do something that you're delaying the payment for that you don't have the money to afford anyway. So why are you doing it? So like now we're in a much different financial situation and we have credit cards. I think we have about, total, we have one credit card that's for 10 grand, American Express. The one's like 20. So we have 10 grand, 2,200. We've got one for, I want to say 1,500, 1,750 and $800. So it's like we have like $15,000 total of credit cards available. Literally, we spend like, if anything, maybe $100 a month on an Amex to kind of help raise our credit score. That's it. That's all. Or if I use it, I'll buy a plane ticket to go somewhere for work, like $400 or $500. I'll pay it off when I get a check from the job. Bam. There's no more using it like for extended periods of time. And we have the capital to do stuff, but we're trying to build credit. But again, it's smaller amounts. Like back in 2015 or 16, we got our first credit card. $400 was a lot to us. Today, $4 is still a lot, but it's not as comparable as it was in 2015. So I'm trying to make the point to people is live within your means, right? That's the most important thing. Live within your means. And when you do that, that's when you can start to build a legacy. But so many people, I feel, are trying to buy, like we bought a nice home. We have a nice new 3,000 square foot home that we're in. We moved in October. We were renting so long, this throwing away because my bankruptcy, my wife's, and all that type of stuff. And we couldn't get the right credit score. Didn't have enough assets. So we bought last year. We bought this house for $365 and it's valued now at $500,000. I mean, and like that. Yeah. So a quick 150 or 160 of equity, bam. But again, we're in no rush to like go somewhere. We're not in a rush to try to refinance. I mean, we can't do it yet, but if we could refinance and pull the money out and spend 50 grand, something we don't need to, we don't need to do that, right? We're fine. It's a nice asset to have. We know we have some capital if we need it. But it's not like, oh, we have $150. Let's just go and blow it on something stupid. I mean, something stupid. Because at the end of the day, you need to be thinking long term. Again, live in the moment, have fun. I'm not saying do that, but I'm saying don't try to get ahead of yourself or spend what other people have, right? So if you're trying to live like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, right? You don't see Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk trying to live like other bigwig people. I mean, you don't see that. They live for what they want and what they can do. And that's just the way it is. And so I feel if people continue to kind of keep that model, right, Trent, great things will happen for people.
Yeah, I think that when I saw this back in the day, especially in MLB, we'd come in, make league minimums about like 550,000, and they'd see the players who were 10-year veterans that were on like $7 million contracts. And the $7 million player is flying some friends in private. We're going to spend some time in New York, play long weekend, New York, Boston series, and gets a cool time to spend friends, maybe get a penthouse suite. Hey, listen, your league minimum, you can't do that. You can't live like that. You don't have $7 million for 7 years. This isn't the deal. You're trying to establish yourself, and it's a challenge. And here's one on the general public that I saw as you talk about this real estate. I had a home out in Arizona when I was in baseball, and one of these ramps that we've seen in the last 24 months on real estate, right? Sure. Just a flipping rocket ship of equitable value. And man, all of a sudden I drive into my neighborhood one day, nice little gated community, nothing fancy. Houses are about $500,000. And when I drive in, all of a sudden I'm like, new Escalade, new Porsche, new Tesla. I'm like, everybody's grabbing $100,000 equity on their house and going to buy a $100,000 car. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, man. And of course, like most cyclical worlds here, as we know our markets a little bit, boom, 2 years later, everyone drops $250,000 in their house value. And all of a sudden you owe 100 grand more than you have.
You're in the
right?
negative. Yep.
And you're going, we're not selling now. We're in this thing for a while now because you're tied to the debt, right? So let me spin this a little bit to the thing I really want a couple questions from the audience. You've had a lot of success, Marques. You won a lot. What's the best battle in your life, in your lifetime, that you've conquered?
The battle of actually becoming a keynote speaker that could do and is doing corporate work. Because when I started, it was a big battle internally that I had to face. A lot of self-doubt, avalanche theory based of life and disposition and just being, because there's not a lot of, I'm 6'5" and a half, 6'6", 295-pound, double tattoo sleeve African-American speakers on the speaker circuit. They're not. I mean, it's predominantly a Caucasian-based male between the age of 35 to 55 type of field. And I had to face a lot of negativity, a lot of doubt, a lot of no's when I started. And so conquering the battle of actually achieving success and achieving notoriety as a keynote speaker, more than just a sports-based speaker, is something that I've won and I've continued to have to I had to battle for a long time.
awesome. And this is intimate look into the imposter syndrome right here. And we all have it. Like you do, I do. We all have it, because I'm sitting here going, Marques, you're an Adonis. You got $1 million smile. You're a former NFL player. You've run a successful company doing over $1 million a year. Like, you've done these things that, listen, the fraction of a percentage in this world have ever done, right? Including a 4-year university that's fabulous. I could just keep going down the list of all the accomplishments and attributes of Marques Ogden. So how could Marques Ogden ever feel like an imposter standing up in front of people telling his story? And it's a comparison. It's the danger of us pitting against what everybody else thinks, which people are always, I tell people, you're going to be shocked when you find out how infrequently they actually think of you. So stop worrying about what they think, because they're worried about themselves, because we all are, right? Mm-hmm. 2 is that comparison is a devil, right? It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. What have you learned in that?
So I've learned when you try to compare yourself to others, it's never going to be good enough. No matter how much you think you've won or lost, it's never, ever going to get you where you want to be. So don't even try. Don't even try, because it's not going to end well. Just worry about and focus on yourself. And again, I talk about focusing. One of the 3 keys of the success cycle is hard work, which is focus on yourself, not the competition. Because the competition, they're going to keep moving forward or backwards or side, whatever they do. If you focus on them, you're taking off from your trajectory of moving forward.
That is so good. And I tell you, one of the greatest coaches of all time was John Wooden, right? John Wooden, basketball coach of UCLA for a long time, passed about a decade ago in his 90s, an incredibly mentally strong person. But here's a guy who in all years, who won 10 national championships, right? 9 in a row, never looked at game film on another team. His whole focus was, we're going to practice hard. And if we do what we're supposed to be doing, I don't need to worry about what they're doing, right? And I mean, that mentality alone today, I mean, Marques, can you imagine that? As we played a lot of high-level sports here, can you imagine as a coach walking in and going, I don't know who we're playing this Saturday, but let's go out and do our job. wait, like, are they going to be quick on the outside? Are they got a passing game, a running game? We got 19 things we want to talk about right now. But like, wait a minute, we got a job. If we prepared for it, then we're just going to be the best we can be. And I think it's going to fall out okay if we've done our work.
Yeah, I mean, again, I didn't know that he never looked at any game film of the opponents. But again, when you win 10 national championships, I think you said 9 in a row, then obviously it works. So again, you have to focus on what you do well, what you and your strengths are, and that is going to be your saving grace. That's your foundation to build off. And once you get to that trajectory, that's when things in life should get good, as long as you stay on track and move forward down the path.
You've seen a lot of people and you've coached a lot of people too, man. And I think that powerful, the comparison, when people talk about, you think you're something in the NFL, guess what? Look right next door. And there's somebody bigger, stronger, faster, like automatically. There's always somebody better. And if they're not, give it 2 weeks, because someone will be, right? And, but when you talk about other folks, I love to ask this question. When people look in the mirror, what do you think they're missing about themselves that you can see right away with them?
Their biggest strengths. Most people focus on what they need to improve on or their weaknesses. And a lot of times they don't know clearly what their strengths are. And that is the essence of our coaching. It's to help you figure out what you do well first and then build from there. And once you figure that out, that's when life gets good.
And I think when I look about and I want you to speak about this too, I'll speak about my experience in professional sports. But one of the things that, and then I want yours, of course, is one of the things that a lot of people thought, and they would come ask me about, like, man, they must really work hard on their weaknesses and shore them up. And I'm like, oh, no. They absolutely lean into the game where their strengths get exploited. And I call it the shampoo treatment. Wash, rinse, repeat, man, because like, I'm going to keep doing this, because I don't think you can stop me. And so if I think, hey, if the changeup's working, I'm going to keep throwing changeups, and you won't see a fastball all day until you prove you can actually hit that pitch. And I see athletes who are just so good at it. And what they do is they take their strengths and they magnify them so high that they actually cover any weaknesses they may have. And if their weakness starts getting exploited, we have team members for that, right? Like, hey, my teammate, I'm getting my weakness exploited. Well, hold on. Here comes Marques to pick me up, because as a teammate, my weakness is going to get exploited in the trench, right? I'm a little guy. I'm a fast guy. Hey, Marques comes in because the game's going to be played on the inside. But if we got to go to the outside and we need quick cover guy, oh, I'm going to help you. And this is where I'm going to pick up for Marques, right? Because we can pull on each other's strengths, because that's what a good team does. Talk to me about what you've seen in a professional athlete who recognizes his strength.
Oh, when a professional athlete recognizes his strength and then delegates to other team members what he doesn't do well, so they can build a cohesive plan with an alignment around a shared vision of who is doing what, who is strong at what, who is going to take care of this, who you're going to delegate this and or that to. That's when teams win. Teams win when athletes understand what they do well, when coaches understand what athletes do well and don't do well, and they delegate and build the team around strengths and weaknesses of the players in order to exercise maximum effort times maximum effectiveness to get maximum results.
That's so good. Tell me quickly, how did you get developed by fellow coaches, others, leaders you were around, your father, your family? How did you feel like people came alongside and developed you into the man you are today?
They developed me by sharing their educational and, most importantly, their life experiences, which allowed me to go out there, do my own life, make mistakes, do well, learn from my mistakes, learn what I did well, and to build my life. Because when I know people's educational experiences and background combined with their life experiences and background, it creates maximum effort for me times maximum effectiveness, which is basically effective strategy implementation. And then when you do those things correctly, maximum results should be achieved. So that's how I've learned throughout my 41 years, almost now 42 years. I'll be 42 in November of life.
Awesome, Marques. First of all, Marques, we got to run here. I want to thank you so much for joining us today on the Winners Find a Way show. I know our listeners will see the value in this episode today. I enjoyed learning about how you pivoted to leaning back into that accountability, responsibility, and building up your integrity. Certainly, like learning about the bad habits that somehow formed that I had to be aware of, that I had formed some bad habits along the way. Being the active listener and being a great listener. Listeners are leaders. He's hit it again. You've probably heard me say it 1,000 times, but if you haven't, Marques just reiterated. Active listening is one of the most key elements that you're going to have as a leader. Being aware of the imposter syndrome and the danger of comparison. It's a absolute devil's den, and it's never going to serve you. So I'd watch for it. And then, of course, when you see we're all so focused on our weaknesses, like dive into your strengths, know what you do well. I just had this conversation this morning with somebody, Marques, about how important it was that I shifted out of basketball, that I was spending a ton of energy and just very average, maybe below average even, to really focus in on my baseball, my tennis, which took me to a whole nother level. And I stopped doing things that just weren't my great strength at 5'6", 165 pounds, right? So great example of life experiences of those people who came around to help educate, help share their stories. You can find those people in mentors. You can find them all sorts of things in your life. Tell me, I want to finish with this, is when you're down, is there somewhere when you've been in that tough spot, and we have ups and downs during the days, is there a quote or something that you go to when things are tough on you?
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes by Aristotle, which is very simplistic but very direct. In times of extreme darkness, focus on the light. And Aristotle said the light is inside of you and all of the darkness is around you. If you focus on the light during times of extreme darkness, you can come out on the other side. So again, the quote is, in times of extreme darkness, focus on the light. Aristotle.
I love that, man. That's a great quote and always strong, man. Excited. If there is a last thing that I'd love to hear from you, is last segment on the best way to win. What's the one thing, if you had to tell somebody, hey, You got to get out. You got to face it. Best way to win today. What would your advice be to somebody?
Go out and live your day and pack your day with action. The best leaders are biased towards taking action. If you make a mistake, own it, fix it, move on. But don't let procrastination, paralyzation, or fear hold you back. So go out and pack your day and take action today right away.
Love it. That's so good. I love to highlight small business brands. Drink Branders is a company that I got to know recently. Love these companies. I'm always traveling with healthy products and stuff like that. My wife's great to me. She's making me vegetables and stuff. So I love getting in there, and they make the best tumblers in the world, and they'll do them for anything, any brand, anything. And great group out of Traverse City, Michigan. So super impressed with them. Marques, super impressed with you. Thank you for coming aboard. For everyone, tell them again where they can find you, Marques.
They go to our website, www.marques, MARQUES, Ogden, OGDEN.com, and they can connect with us today.
Perfect. My handle's Trent M. Clark, Leadership and all the social media. Thank you for joining us. Enjoyed today's episode. Please continue listening and rating Winners Find a Way 5 stars. I hope we work hard to find 1% stories like Marques Ogden. Thank you so much, Marques. Have a great afternoon, everybody. We'll see you next time on Winners Find a Way.
Need to hydrate but tired of plain old water? You need Rebellious Infusions. No sugar, no calories, loaded with antioxidants to boost your immune system. And L-theanine for brain health. 10 organic flavors and convenient liquid packets. Just add 16 ounces and you are on your way. Rethink your drink at drinkrebellious.com. For 10% off of your next purchase, use the code 99999. Do you want to be our next guest? Or do you have inspiring stories to share? Or do you love to inspire, support, and empower thought leaders? Feel free to send Trent a direct message on Instagram or Facebook at Leadershipity.